So we're getting very close to our work with this Chapter 11. And the timeline is, I want to go back to the County Council to present our draft report in October. So we've got a few months, but and I'd like to circle back to groups like yours, Dennis, to talk about what the draft is starting to look like. There are a lot of states in the nation that don't have an inclusionary zoning policy. In fact, there's probably less of us that do. So, the question really is it working? Is it necessary? And part of a lot of the discussion that we've been having with the consultant is really thinking about how to provide incentives for developers as opposed to creating mandates for them as a means to develop affordable housing. And what do we think can work better? And that's a lot of the discussion that we've been having, is incentivizing versus mandating, right? So it'll be very interesting to see what the proposal and what the recommendation is going to be. Next slide. So the second strategy on our roadmap is to consider changes to Chapter 25, which is the zoning code. So this is my partnership with the planning department. So obviously the housing office is not taking the lead on this. This is something that the planning department is taking the lead on. Director Kern has updated me to say that they are very close to securing the consultant who they're going to be working with on this. This is the chapter in the planning code that addresses accessory dwelling units, which I know a lot of you have asked me about, and tiny homes will also be addressed in this particular chapter. He did say that it's going to be quite an in-depth kind of assessment. I think that he was anticipating to see drafts coming out maybe towards the end of 2023, maybe into 2024. So it's going to take a few years. Next slide. The other part of this strategy is the planning department considering changes to Chapter 23, which is the subdivision code. And I think this might be of a lot of interest to the developers as well. Next slide. The third strategy on our roadmap has to do with the use of county and state-owned lands and utilizing them for affordable housing development. The county does have quite a bit. Well, the county has some land. The state has more. And so we've really been taking a deep dive into assessing properties that are have infrastructure, have zoning, and if it's not exactly right, it wouldn't take a lot for us to put it in place. And our intent would be to get it zoned, get the infrastructure in place, and then maybe go out to bid to select our developers who would help the county and work with the county to do affordable housing development. So we're very excited about this one. We have about 9 properties that we've already submitted to the state for consideration. One has actually passed the land board, so we're very excited about that. That particular property is in the Hilo area. And I'll be making announcements when we're ready to go out to select developers to work with us on this project. Next slide. Strategy 4 is the establishment of an affordable housing fund. And if you've all been kind of watching closely, we actually achieved this goal this year with the county council. They actually passed a bill to fund an affordable housing fund that's coming through the Office of Housing. This year, it's looking like about $9.5 million. And we will be creating administrative rules, which we've already drafted. And we will probably go out to RFP by the end of this year on this particular pot of money. Very excited about this one. And strategy 5 to consider planning and permitting processes for 100% affordable housing projects to fast track administrative approval. So basically what this means is that if we've got a 100% affordable housing project that I've been working with Public Works on a process to move those plans through DPW for permitting and fast tracking them, so that they probably won't follow the same track as all of the other permits. But we're still working on this. And as you know, there's been some transition at Public Works as well. So we're still working on what that process will look like. Next slide. So these are just some other strategies that we've been talking about. We haven't really drafted anything here yet, but definitely some of these topics keep coming up for discussion. But those are the strategic roadmap items that we're currently working on.